What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel. It is a Wednesday transfer update, and it looks like Celtic are going to make another summer signing, a sixth summer signing in the shape of 19-year-old Man City centre-half Jahmai Simpson-Pusey. Now, I believe the second part of that surname is pronounced Pusey. If you want to go with Simpson-Pusey, each to their own. But it looks like the 19-year-old centre-half is going to join Celtic on a season-long loan deal. Now, what do you do if you're Celtic and you're floundering around trying to get deals done in the summer transfer window, trying to find the players to improve the squad, and you're struggling to do it, you're struggling to get permanent deals over the line because you keep bidding 15 pence for other clubs' players? Of course, you phone Man City and say, have you got any loan players to send up to us this season, please, to dig us out? And that's what we've done once again. It looks like we'll come back to that pending arrival in just a minute, but some housekeeping first of all. I hope you enjoyed I hope you liked the new intro there at the start of the video. Just wanted to change things up this season, both visually and audibly. I know that for most of the channel's lifetime, the sort of intro tunes have been crowd chants and Celtic songs, but I wanted to freshen things up, change things up a wee bit. So we've not a lot to get excited about, so if that's all you need to get excited, it might be all you've got this week, the new intro. Try and get you excited for the start of this season. And also coming up this week, we are going to get back into the full swing of the content. Callum and Darren are going to be here on Friday to do a season preview. We'll try and make it as much of a season preview as it can be. We'll do our best to avoid ranting for an hour about Celtic's recruitment operation, but we are going to have the boys in on Friday, and that will mark the start of the proper content coming back, where you don't just need to listen to me, we'll get the boys on. The starting 11 prediction will be back on Saturday, and then it is match day content as normal on Sunday for Flag Day against St Mirren. So if nothing else, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to get back to watching Celtic at Celtic Park, and bringing you some content after it as well. Anyway, let's get back to the transfer business. Jahmai Simpson-Pusey looks like he's going to join Celtic on a season-long loan deal until June 2026. Of course, it was Fabrizio Romano, the stealer of all joy, that confirmed it earlier this morning. He was linked with us over the last 3 or 4 days. He's a 19-year-old centre-half, as I say. Having watched some clips of him, I haven't seen him too much for Man City. I think he's played 2 Premier League games, 2 Champions League games, one in the FA Cup and one in the Carabao Cup as well. So he's not played a huge amount of first-team football for Man City. A lot of Premier League 2 games, and some youth football, but I think he looks big. He looks strong. He's relatively quick. He looks really comfortable on the ball. Again, we know that Man City play out from the back, and they put a lot of onus on the centre halves to receive the ball for the goalkeeper, like a lot of teams do nowadays, Celtic included. So I think he looks really competent in that area of the game. Now, at 19 years of age, having played little senior football, is he going to come in and partner Carter Vickers on Sunday and then stay there for most of the season? That will be seen, but I don't know. I'm sure Manchester City want him to play a lot of minutes. I'm sure they've stipulated that if he's going to come to us on loan, a promising young player who's already played first team minutes for them, they're going to stipulate that he has to play a good chunk of first team minutes. What that means for Trusty and Scales, I don't know. I've said already throughout this summer, and I think I've seen it in comments and a lot of discussion, that the jury's out on both of those guys. Trusty has looked a bit sharper in pre-season, but again, we watched him over the course of last season and there was question marks. I think Scales is well over the piece, as someone that we have to improve on to kick on and try and go to a higher level. I don't think there's any question around that. So will their minutes be reduced by this? I would think so, but again, it could be asking a lot of a 19-year-old kid who's played not much senior football to come in and be a starting centre-half for Celtic over the majority of the season. I know that we do play a lot of games. We might play 50, 60 games this season, and Brendan Rodgers did chop and change a lot of the side last season, but despite the fact that we saw combinations of Trusty and Scales at times, and hopefully Carter Vickers' fitness holds up throughout the majority of the campaign, centre-half is not the position where you want to constantly be chopping and changing. It's nice to have some continuity, but He looks like a decent player, the boy. It'll be interesting to see how he comes in, settles in, and over the first few weeks, I'm sure we'll get a feel of where Brendan Rodgers sees him fitting in terms of the pecking order at centre half. But like I say, he looks a big boy. Hopefully, he's strong, and the defensive side of his game is equally competent. Because, like I say, it's clear from watching the clips, and most of the clips tend to be of him striding out of defence with the ball at his feet and picking passes. Some nice long range passes in there as well. I suppose playing for Man City and youth football, they tend to be the dominant team. So in the few clips that I watched, there wasn't too much of him having to do some last ditch defending and really stand strong and defend his box. But like I say, he looks big, strong, got a bit of pace about him. But the thing that stands out to you is his ability on the ball in terms of receiving it in tight areas, trying to build out for the back, and being that player who can step in when he's not under pressure as well to open the game up. I think that's something Celtic face a lot domestically, where teams might choose to leave a centre half on the ball, and if he's the spare man and he's on the ball, he can be the player that moves forward and tries to drag a midfield player towards him to open up things further up the pitch for us. But it looks like he's going to join over the next couple of days. Let's see if he's involved at the weekend. That'd be good. I think some freshness is really important, because I think we've got this sort of predominant mood over the fan base because of the recruitment so far and the question marks in the squad and the areas that we're weaker in compared to last season. I think there is a general mood of discontent and a bit of impatience. And I think that is getting in the way of getting really excited about the season starting on Sunday. So maybe at least one new face can allay that anxiety a wee bit, and we can look forward to the weekend. Don't get me wrong, I'm right there with all the criticism of the recruitment. I think it's way short. I think we're living through Groundhog Day every single season. I said it at the start of the summer window, with a Champions League qualifier on the horizon. You are petrified that Celtic are going to just make a mess of it. I think as it stands right now, we are currently in the middle of making a mess of it. We've got a hell of a lot of work to do before that qualifier in just under 3 weeks' time. So there's lots of areas that need improving. There's lots of work to be done. There's a lot of the players we've brought in, we don't really know where they stand yet. And again, I think we find ourselves repeating the same cycles when it comes to recruitment, and nobody really knows where the club are at. You never get any communication on the vision for the club, and deals never seem to be done efficiently. If you think back to last season, and this is something we'll talk about a bit more with Callum and Darren on Friday in the preview show. Think back to last season, even the deals for Bernardo, who was a shoe-in, he was here on loan. There was an initial deal to bring him back permanently, but I know they negotiated that down. That took weeks and weeks. The Ida saga dragged on for weeks and weeks, and maybe there's a theory now that because we overpaid, maybe for Ida, maybe for Engels as well, and they haven't set the place on fire, that the board are a bit hesitant about going and spending money again. But again, the Ida situation comes as a result of hashing through a loan deal late in the previous January, not having any agreement there about a permanent deal with purchase, and then finding yourself closed into that deal last season where you'd feel like you need to bring him back because he had such a good impact and scored big goals. But because you had to rush through the deal in the January, because that January window was another farce, you were closed in the summer into overpaying for him. So there's lots to unpack, as there always is. And like I say, we'll get into that on Friday when I've got the boys here and we can have a much better back and forth discussion about it. But I think time and time again, we find these patterns repeating for Celtic, and we can't be complacent. There's certainly no excuses for being complacent, no excuses about having to wait to get deals done, about, oh, well, we've still got 3 weeks left, so we'll be stronger by the time we finish the transfer window. The big tests are coming. The season starts on Sunday. We go to Pittodrie, we go to Ibrox, we've got a Champions League qualifier to get ready for. We don't have the luxury to be making excuses about why transfer dealings can't get done. We've seen, albeit rarely, seasons in the past where we've managed to get business done efficiently, like when Ange first came in. And don't get me wrong, that was because he had probably earmarked 3 or 4 players that he knew that fit exactly into his style, and we brought them in quickly and efficiently. So it can be done, and it so happens when we sell players as well, a la Nicholas Kuhn. We didn't hold on to him till the end of the summer transfer window. Como came and put in a bid We thought it was the right amount of money. We sold him, we let him go. Now we find ourselves in a position where we can't let Yang go. And remarkably, last night, we can't let Marco Tilio go because we don't have enough wide players. Marco Tilio was part of that 23-24 recruitment, which was an absolute disaster. There wasn't one successful recruit in it, and he's been away out on loan. You thought you'd never see him again. He's played some minutes in pre-season, but it looked like he was on the brink of a move out of the club. Then he's still here, and now we're in the position where we can't let him go, despite the fact that it looks like he's never going to make it as a Celtic player. And if we had any players in the door and any decent depth in the attacking areas, he'd be long gone. But we find ourselves having to hold on to him because up to this point, the recruitment this summer has been so mismanaged. That brings us nicely to the pursuit of go-ahead Eagles winger Jacob Broom, who we haven't talked about a lot so far on the channel. This saga has been going on over the last sort of 4 or 5 days to a week. He's worth £5 million. Go Ahead Eagles want £5 million or around that for his services. Celtic had a first bid, which I think was 1.5 million, 1.75 million. They've had another bid of about 2.5 million rejected. There was also the quotes from the Go Ahead Eagles sporting director almost laughing off the bid from Celtic and the approach from Celtic. I mean, it just beggars belief, really. The resources that Celtic have coming in so low and lowballing these clubs to try and get players off them in the hope that we can get some sort of bargain. Again, we managed it with Nygren because the contract was running down, but if he didn't have so little in his contract, would they have been looking for 5-6 million quid? If they were, and that was the situation, there's no way Benjamin Nygren would be a Celtic player, because we would have done the same thing. We'd have bid 1.5 million, we'd have bid 2 million, and go up in these increments. And honestly, from the selling club's point of view, it must get to the point. It's almost like you're playing Football Manager, and you know if you get in with too derisory a bid, they just start ignoring you, and you're not allowed to bid for that player again. That's what it's like. That's what it seems like. And Celtic have been linked with a lot of names through this summer. And okay, you can't take the media reports as gospel every single time, but there's been numerous links to numerous players from the credible sources, Stephen McGowan and the likes, who have a good reputation of accuracy when talking about Celtic over the years. So there must be something in them. And again, time and time again, these names have appeared and they've just disappeared, and nothing's came of the links, of the pursuits, of the bids. Why is that? I think it is a bit of a shambles. Again, we find ourselves in this situation, repeating myself, everything that you've heard before in this channel. It is another episode of Groundhog Day, where we're currently in the middle of a summer transfer window, and we're making a pig's ear of it. We're going to take it to the last week or two of the window and be floundering around to get all the players we need in, just to get the squad in a position where we've got the relevant depth and the relevant numbers, let alone being able to judge whether we've actually kicked on and improved from the squad that we had last season. So I digress. That's it for today. Like I say, we'll talk about things in more detail, and we'll have a back and forth when the boys are in later in the week for the season preview. But that's it for today. It looks like we are going to get another summer signing. Let us know your own thoughts on that below, and I will see you later in the week. Thank you.